is a law with something, like say, hey, if you came in like, I don't know, I feel like more than once, honestly, that's a little much for me, because I feel like if I went in and stuff like that and I had to go for a second time, then I'm going to probably reevaluate my values and be like, why is this happening again, and stuff like that. Again, if I didn't want children and stuff like that, then I would be getting my tubes tied in that case. But some women do get their tubes tied, and things do happen. And
okay, her logic is all over the place. She is really ranting right now.
When do they become babies?
When they are born.
What are they before?
A fetus and a clump of cells.
Okay, so do you think your daughter was not a baby 10 minutes before you gave birth?
No.
What was she? What were you growing?
She is growing. Like I said, she is fully developing and stuff like that.
Right.
And like I said, the day I give birth, she is a full-on baby and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like I said, it comes down to the woman's choice when it comes to what they decide what they would like to do with that baby or not.
So what were you growing inside of you if your daughter was not a baby?
He was developing into a baby.
Yeah, there's a lot of logical fallacies in all of this. It was developing into a baby, then what was it? And you said your daughter becomes a baby the day they're born. What about the week before they're born? What about 2 weeks before they're born? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? 3 months? Do you understand the logical fallacy? Because obviously you're going to say your daughter is a baby 2 days before it's born. But where do you draw the line? Is the line a month later, or is the line a month earlier, 2 months earlier, 3 months earlier? There has to be a real line. But anyways, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into this.
Or did you just wait till the morning?
Both. Both. So I stayed up till about like 11, and then my husband kept telling me, you need to go to bed. And I'm like, just one more peek, just one more peek. And then I woke up, had to go to the bathroom, checked at like 2 in the morning, and I was like, okay, if we get this state and this state and this state, we might be good. And then I took my daughter to school. And I really wasn't, honestly, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't happy.
You weren't happy?
No,
so that was your reaction.
Yes.
You weren't happy?
Not at all.
Okay. Why not?
Because I think it's one of those things, I am a woman, and it's one of those things, I do believe in women's rights. I do believe she can do a lot of change with our country and stuff like that. And we've already had Trump in that aspect, and clearly we did not get what we were seeing out of that. And I think the world definitely needs something a little different at the end of the day. And I do believe in what she stands by and what stands for. I have a 14-year-old daughter. And I vote for her, and I vote for a lot of things with women's rights, and not just that, but also equality. Basically, you know, we're all human at the end of the day, and I think it's very important for all of us to come together and be one, and not be so diverse and against each other at the end of the day. So.
Okay. So when you say women's rights, is there any specific policy of hers that you were like, oh yeah, that is my right, that is something that affects me directly?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to women's rights, I think we should have the right to our own choice with our own bodies, whether we want contraceptive, whether we want to be able to have the option if we do get raped or something like that, and that situation happens, where we can take control. And I do not believe the government should be involved with a woman's bodies or rights at the end of the day. So it's one of those.
No, you do believe that the government should be involved in a woman's bodies or rights, because what you're doing right now is you're advocating for government involvement in a woman's bodies or rights. And let me remind everyone where this argument is coming from. This is coming from the perspective of Roe v. Wade getting overturned, which practically said that nowhere in the Constitution, or the overturning was on the logic that nowhere in the Constitution protects abortion rights. And when Roe v. Wade was overturned, it basically said states can decide whether or not abortions are right or wrong. So what she's advocating for, from a legal perspective, is removing the powers from the states and putting it back into the government's hands, saying that the government does decide, but they want them to decide that it's a good thing and not a bad thing. That's what you want.
Things, before I had my daughter, I actually had a miscarriage. And guess what the option was? An abortion. So it's one of those things, basically at the time it was, hey, if it happens naturally, cool, but if it doesn't, you still have to go down that route, where technically, yes, it does fall into an abortion. So my heart does definitely go out to a lot of women that, you know, down the road they do want to keep their baby, they want that baby, and it's 8 months down the road and something happens, and now they're in critical condition, where the fact that they literally have to be so life threatened to where they can't get that as an option, and that's just unfortunate. And then that mom can leave 5 children behind. So at my point, that's where I do stand on. I believe women do have that right, and I don't think a man should make that choice for a woman at all.
Okay, so just to clarify, you think that when a woman experiences a miscarriage, they get an abortion?
No, not necessarily. No, it's one of those things, so it depends where you're at. If, say, you're 6 months pregnant and stuff like that, and there's complications that are physically happening, and the doctor's like, hey, this is what's going on, your baby's not going to survive. But depending on what state you're in and stuff like that, that can be a whole different ballgame. They have to be like, well, what's going on with the baby? Is this happening? Is that happening? There's a lot that has to escalate before they can physically make that decision. So for me and stuff like that, when I did have that situation, it's just kind of like, again, I don't want somebody to tell me I have to wait till I'm basically on my deathbed before they can physically make a full situation where, oh, she's sepsis, this is what's kind of happening kind of deal.
Right. To clarify, just because we don't want to spread any misinformation, there is no state in the country that prohibits a woman from receiving care in the effect that she needs a D&C or something when the fetus is not alive.
Right.
So I guess I know how you feel about Amendment 4.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think that says about the people of Florida that they rejected Amendment 4?
It makes me very sad. It makes me very sad. You know, I do feel we were definitely really close to where we needed to be and stuff like that. Again, having that option to have that choice at the end of the day, depending where you're at, whether it was, again, rape or something that you have complications down the road, having that as an option. You know, healthcare shouldn't be an option. It should always be there for you. You should always have that for you. So like I said, at the end of the day, it's one of those things. A woman should have a choice over her body.
Right. So Amendment 4 was to...
And I always have the same question every time I hear this debate. What do you constitute as a woman's body? And I'm not trying to say this to be a contrarian. I really want to know. What do you constitute as a woman's body? Because a woman is holding a literal human in the most literal possible way I can put it. You are literally holding a human and creating a human. So yes, it is your body, but I feel as though pregnancy is such a unique experience that it's not just your body. It's also another human. So what is considered your body and the baby's body? And when does it start? And I think this is a fair question, because if you're arguing the legality and the morality of abortion from a non-Christian perspective and just from a scientific perspective, when do you constitute the baby being its own body and not a part of your body? Because an abortion is a termination of the fetus. So when is that line drawn? I have yet to hear an answer to this. When do you draw the line? When is it say it's not my body, it's a baby's body? When is that line drawn? I really want an answer to that.
Put into the Constitution the point of viability. Yeah. And then they also added protections for rape, incest, and the health of the mother. And so you don't agree with that?
No, I feel like, again, like I said, if a woman gets raped, or even my daughter got raped at 14 years old. Yeah. You know, it's one of those things at the end of the day, like, we should have that choice.
So the amendment would allow that choice.
Right, allow that choice. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So what was wrong with the amendment?
Nothing was wrong with the amendment. It just did not pass. As in, for a woman to have a physical abortion and stuff like that, whether it's rape, it's incest, or it's just unwanted. Maybe you're in a situation like, hey, I've done everything under the sun, whether it's protection, whether it's an IUD, whether it's birth control and stuff like that, and things just do happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is the law right now.
Yes.
That is the law right now. You can receive in Florida, you can receive all that care.
But it's also like, again, with
well, let me ask you this. Is it just like, would you be in favor of banning abortions in every other case except medically necessary or rape or incest? No. So you think abortion should be allowed for any reason?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay, no, we'll be right there. We'll be right there. That was my babysitter calling. I have to go. My baby is crying, and she's like...
Oh, that's cute. But that's also pretty beautiful, because when do you say, okay, this is my baby? Because I feel as though the lady she was talking to, the one with the really colorful hair, she strategically, I'm sorry I have my retainer in, strategically kept jumping between my baby and it. If you guys notice, she kept saying it. It is not alive. It. And then once it's born, it's my baby. But it. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like, when do you say, okay, this is my baby, this is a real human being?
Like, you have to pay me $1 million to deal with this crying baby right now. Come feed your kid. So I need your help. If you want me to continue coming out here and creating this content that you love, go to patreon.com/Caitlin Bennett. $5 a month gets you into my private Facebook group where we can chat one-on-one, share some...
off.
When is that cut off for you?
Honestly, I really don't know. I really wouldn't know where that line would draw when it comes to a cutoff, whether it be, 8 weeks, 16 weeks and stuff like that. But if a woman say she's 8 months, I do not feel like just out of nowhere she'd be like, I just decided I don't want it anymore. No.
You think that should not be allowed?
No, I don't. I think at a certain point you should know kind of in that point. But when it comes to medical and stuff like that, that's where it's very important, where we do have to have that in play to give that woman, her life at the end of the day. Because if it's physically costing her life, where she's in a situation where, yes, there's something that's happening, that's how you have to save the mom and stuff like that. So I know Florida is a little different on certain things, but speaking for all women around the entire world, it is very important for me. So even having it here, when they do exceed that specific ban and stuff like that, again, at the end of the day, they should have a choice on their own body.
What would you say to a woman who voted no on that amendment and voted for Trump because they don't want to have that in their state? They don't want those laws.
I think at the end of the day, it is your decision.
Yeah.
It is your decision. I can't sit here and try to convince somebody otherwise. All I can do is try to educate them on my knowledge and stuff like that, and explain my views and why. But it's one of those things, if that's what they truly believe in, that's what they truly believe in, unfortunately. And I would just say, hey, do your research. Do your research, understand what's really happening in the world, and why women choose to actually have an abortion. It's not like we're just going out killing babies. That's not.
Well, 98% of abortions are elective reasons, because the woman just decides that they don't want to be a mom yet, they aren't in the financial position, they don't have a partner. And that statistic comes from the Guttmacher Institute, which is the research arm of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
So 98% of abortions are elective just because they don't want them. It's not medical, it's not rape, and it's not incest.
Yeah.
But you think that's totally okay. It doesn't have to be a medical emergency. It doesn't need to be an emergency at all.
I don't know the reason behind it, and again, I don't know the percentages on how many people actually physically get that done without medical and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's a reason for it. And it's one of those things, it's if that mom decided hey, I'm in a situation, this is what happened, or, again, I don't really know their specific situation on that aspect of it. I just know that that's your body. You should have the right to do that. I don't think people should ever abuse it. If you're a woman, then you came into the clinic 5 times, now that's a problem. Now
how does that make it a problem, but the person who came in once isn't a problem?
Here's what I'll say, and I've said this before. You have to have some form of objectivity when it comes to these discussions. Because if you want government involvement and you want the government to say, we will overturn this, we will step in this, and we will make this a federal mandate for every single state to allow abortion. If that's your goal, if you're pro-choice, you can't just be so willy-nilly when it comes to your logic. For example, this young woman, the one with the blue hair, is saying, yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to just go into any abortion clinic 2-3 times and say, well, I want an abortion. That's not right. But do you want it to be legal? Because that's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for it to be legal right now. You want people to have the right to do that, but you're also saying, oh, it's not a right thing to do. So why isn't it a right thing to do? Where do you draw the line? Where's the thought pattern and the logic behind this? I'm having a hard time following.
Well, if you're doing 5 or 6 times, you're just having abortions, I think we need to rethink other things.
But why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because now they're just abusing it. Now they're just kind of using it as a typical birth control. That's not birth control.
But wouldn't that be okay if it were legal and you don't support limiting abortions for any reason?
If it was legal, having certain laws in place after a certain time, after hey, you can't go in 10, 20 times. To me now that just shows a physical problem. You're not doing what you need to do to prevent yourself. You're not taking care of yourself as a person. You're just kind of going in and be oh, this is just the easiest route, let's just do that. No, I don't think that at all. I think at the end of the day, if I end up getting pregnant, I should have that right to go in to make that decision for myself.
But if a woman's been in there 5, 6 times, and they're like having a punch card because they've been in there for so many.
No, I don't.
So what? But why? Because if it's okay to go in once, why wouldn't it be okay to go in 5 or 6 times? What's the difference?
Because again, that just shows how irresponsible they're being. Like if it's happened the first time, you as a person, you made that physical decision, hey, I financially can't afford this. Or 2, I just don't want a baby. I'm not in a good situation for this at all. Again, that's a mom decision. But when it comes to 6, 7, 8, 10 times, again, that just literally shows me the irresponsible of that person. You do not value life at all when it comes to that sort of stuff. I think it's one of those things, when something becomes excessive, that becomes now a problem. Again, it's kind of one of those things when you abuse kind of like certain power and stuff like that. Now it's like, that's what a lot of people are looking at. Like I said, I feel like I get like a punch card. You should have like, hold on, here's my punch card.
Is it because they just keep terminating their children? Like they just keep choosing instead of raising their children?
7, 10 times. I don't know why somebody would want to go in there 6, 7, 10 times, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. It's just, again, that shows the irresponsibility of that person, because there's other options. Like, are we not on birth control? Are you in a relationship where maybe that's not kind of working out and it just keeps happening and you're doing what you feel like you need to do, but then how can we help her escape something like that where she keeps, say, getting pregnant, say, continuously and continuously? Or, hey, how can we help you? Do we need to get the tubes tied? Stuff like that. How can we help you so you can kind of like avoid the situation for yourself?
So do you think women who are repeat customers, do you think they should be turned away at a certain point and say, no, you're going to give birth this time?
I don't know if we feel like we should force something like that. I feel like, again, if there is a law with something, like say, hey, if you came in like, I don't know, I feel like more than once, honestly, that's a little much for me, because I feel like if I went in and stuff like that and I had to go for a second time, then I'm going to probably reevaluate my values and be like, why is this happening again? And stuff like that. Again, if I didn't want children and stuff like that, then I would be getting my tubes tied in that case. But some women do get their tubes tied, and things do happen. And
okay, her logic is all over the place. She is really ranting right now. Ranting pretty aggressively, I might add. I really don't know where she's going with this. So I'm gonna end the video here. If you have any suggestions for me, comment down below. My name is LFR JoJo, and I'll see you on the next one.